Welcome and thank you for joining me on the Nomis Hunter, where today we dive into one of the most unbelievable, mind-shaking, pulse-racing mysteries in the world of rare coins. A story that pulls collectors into a whirlwind of excitement and curiosity. Because when we talk about the 1960D 1 cent supposedly reaching a staggering value of $148 million, we're not just talking about a coin. We are unraveling layers of minting chaos, unexpected blunders, mechanical accidents, human oversight, and the rarest possibilities that turn an ordinary piece of copper into a treasure so shocking that even seasoned experts are left stunned. And in this journey you are about to take with me, we explore every microscopic slip, twist, and anomaly that could transform a common Denver minted penny into a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic phenomenon that collectors would battle tooth and nail to own. Because behind the idea of a 1960D penny worth such monumental money lies a labyrinth of minting. Mysteries, double strikes, die varieties, RPMs, planchet mix-ups, experimental metal compositions, transitional production errors, overlooked test strikes, dramatic misalignments, and freak accidents deep inside the Denver Mint that may have created a coin so unique that its existence alone would flip the entire coin collecting world upside down. And as we begin this exploration, imagine holding a small copper coin that looks innocent on the surface, but carries signs of mishaps and anomalies that defy expectations. Imagine the thrill of discovering that the tiniest details, the smallest distortions in lettering, date, mint mark, or portrait could turn into the key to unlocking multi-million-dollar value. Because a 1960D penny is already famous for one of the most significant varieties ever produced, the small date and large date mix-ups. A major switch that happened during the year as the mint adjusted designs, creating distinct versions that collectors hunt for even today. And now imagine combining that confusion with an extreme, dramatic, never-before-seen error. Something so bizarre that it slipped past inspectors, hid among billions of coins, and survived circulation untouched, waiting decades for someone curious enough to uncover it. And one of the possibilities that pushes the value into astronomical territory is the potential existence of a double denomination strike, where a penny is accidentally struck on a planchet mint for another coin, or even more. Unbelievable, struck over an already minted coin of a different denomination, creating clear overlapping designs, ghost images, and layered elements that should never coexist. And if a 1960D penny ever showed traces of a Roosevelt dime underneath, or the faint rim of a foreign coin, or a partial impression of another series, collectors would enter a frenzy unlike anything seen before, because such an error would sit far beyond normal minting mistakes and enter legendary status. But that is only the beginning of the possibilities that could launch this specific penny into the $148 million stratosphere, because another factor would be a one-of-a-kind mule error, where the obverse die of the Lincoln cent is accidentally paired with the reverse die of a completely different coin series, producing a combination of designs that was never intended. And if such a mule existed from 1960 with a D mint mark, it would be considered one of the rarest errors in the world, essentially priceless. Because mule coins are almost always destroyed at the mint once discovered, making a surviving piece nearly mythical. And then we have the extraordinary concept of a transitional error, where a planchet meant for a different year, a different metal composition, or even a rejected test alloy ends up being struck with the 1960D dies. And since the mint was undergoing changes in composition and production methods across decades, a single experimental planchet slipping into the press could create a coin with a metal signature entirely different from normal pennies. And when laboratory testing reveals a unique alloy unseen in circulation, collectors instantly understand they are witnessing a miracle of minting history, a coin that cannot be reproduced, a coin that stands alone. And then imagine that the penny displays a dramatic double die, not the subtle doubling known among ordinary varieties, but an extreme, bold, borderline explosive doubling where the date, liberty, and the motto explode with thick, separated outlines from a massive die shift, something so unmistakable that it becomes instantly recognizable across the world. And the combination of a double die with a unique mint mark anomaly, such as an RPM where the D is punched over another D, or over an S, or misaligned at a dramatic angle, would compound its rarity exponentially because the Denver Mint, especially in the early 1960s, saw numerous hand-punched mint marks where workers physically applied the D onto the dies, and even the slightest slip could create extraordinary varieties. But in our imagined scenario, the mint worker could have hit the punch twice in wildly different positions, creating a triple or quadruple punched mint mark, or accidentally used the wrong punch before correcting it, making a D/S or S/D hybrid impossible under standard procedure, but possible under human error. And if such an anomaly existed alongside a one-time die collapse or a catastrophic mechanical failure that caused deep die cracks, cuds, retained cuds, and dramatic breaks across the coin surface, collectors would see a specimen that carries the physical scars of the minting machines themselves, marking it as a historical artifact of production failure, and each crack or break would tell its own story of metal stress, collapsing dies, and malfunctioning presses, adding another layer of uniqueness. But the concept of a $148 million value would truly crystallize if this coin existed in an unimaginable condition, perhaps a flawless prototype never meant to enter circulation, preserved with full original luster, struck on a premium planchet, escaped from being melted or discarded, and rediscovered decades later in an untouched hoard. And if this coin had deep mirrors, razor-sharp details, unmatched surfaces, and absolute registry of every microscopic line, graders would have no choice but to acknowledge its perfection and the combination of a perfect grade with a once-in-human history error would ignite the highest auction competition ever witnessed, pushing wealthy collectors into a bidding war that defies logic. But add to this the possibility that the coin could have been tied to a major historical event, a mint experiment, or even a political or economic transition that gives it an additional story, making it not just an error coin, but a piece of American history frozen in metal. And when a coin carries a story, a mystery, a trail of unanswered questions, and the thrill of discovery, its value multiplies beyond anything normally assigned to numismatic artifacts. And in the case of the 1960D 1 cent we imagine here, the story becomes even more electrifying if we consider that it may have been intentionally preserved by a mint employee who realized its significance, or accidentally included in a sealed bag meant for testing, or even passed down privately through generations before the world ever laid eyes on it. And when such a coin surfaces, its rarity is not just based on error, but on survival, secrecy, and history. And the combination of a unique minting mistake, an extraordinary physical condition, an unprecedented error type, and an unforgettable backstory creates the formula that pushes its theoretical value into the unbelievable realm of $148 million, a value that shocks, intrigues, and captivates anyone who hears it, turning this small copper piece into a numismatic legend. And as you continue exploring rare coins with me on the Nomis Hunter, remember that every coin you hold might carry a story hiding beneath the surface. And sometimes, the rarest treasures are discovered by those who look a little closer, question a little deeper, and dare to believe in the extraordinary. Next, 1972 1 cent coin, a little copper piece that millions of people handled casually every single day, never realizing that somewhere hidden among those billions, there could exist an unbelievably rare, breathtakingly valuable masterpiece of minting chaos, A coin so extraordinary that collectors whisper about it with awe. A coin that, under very precise and extraordinary circumstances, could reach a mind-blowing speculative value of $82 million because of a perfect storm of mint errors, production blunders, human mistakes, and freak mechanical accidents that combine to create a unique specimen unlike anything ever seen before. And as we embark on this journey together, imagine holding a coin that appears simple at first glance, but contains hidden details that defy expectations, distortions in its design that challenge logic, and marks that reveal a history packed with error after error, accident after accident, all converging into a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic anomaly that collectors around the world would do anything to own, because the year 1972 is already legendary for producing one of the most dramatic double-die obverse varieties in all of American coinage history. The famous 1972 double die that shows explosive doubling on the date, liberty, and the motto, so bold that it jumps out at the naked eye and instantly commands a premium. But now imagine taking that already monumental variety and pushing it into an even more extreme realm, where the doubling is not just strong, but absolutely overwhelming, with thick, separated layers appearing like echoes of the original design, a result of a catastrophic die misalignment that might have occurred during a rush production cycle, creating an error so intense that experts would consider it a once-in-human-history event. And now imagine that this extreme doubling is paired with another accident, something profoundly rare, such as a mint mark anomaly. Because although 1972 cents from Philadelphia don't have mint marks, it is entirely possible for a rogue die from a different facility to be accidentally paired, or for a leftover experimental die to slip into the production process, creating a phantom impression of a mint mark that should not exist. And such a detail would immediately launch the coin into an entirely new stratosphere of rarity. And if we push the possibilities further, imagine that this 1972 cent was struck on the wrong planchet, maybe a transitional planchet left over from past or future experiments with different metal compositions, creating a coin with a weight and ring that doesn't match a normal copper cent. And once such a planchet slips into the presses, its unexpected properties could react to the strike differently, leaving behind unusual textures, distorted rims, or incomplete edges, turning the coin into something so visually and technically shocking that collectors would instantly recognize it as a minting marvel, and combine that with the possibility of a double denomination strike, a mistake where the coin was struck over another already minted piece, such as a dime or foreign coin that was mistakenly fed into the press, creating an unbelievable layered design, with ghost outlines of two different denominations merging on one planchet, a hybrid creation that should never exist, but occasionally does when mint machines malfunction or operators make split-second errors. And if such a 1972 hybrid error existed with visible overlapping features like the faint Roosevelt profile behind Lincoln's portrait or partial foreign lettering beneath the date, it would rock the numismatic world to its core. And now, let's imagine that this coin also carries dramatic die cracks, cuds, or a die break large enough to create raised platforms of metal, features that appear when minting dies suffer catastrophic failures. And if the coin was struck at the exact moment of such a failure, the resulting marks could create patterns that look like raised continents, lightning strikes, or massive metal bridges across the design, making the coin visually stunning and unmistakably unique. And if we add in the possibility of a broad strike or off-center strike so extreme that half the design is shifted outward while still remaining attractive and fully readable, collectors would fall into a frenzy, because extreme but well-centered off-strikes with sharp details are among the most desirable errors known. And if a 1972 cent showed an off-center percentage so dramatic that only a sliver of the design remained anchored to the rim, it would stand as a one-of-one piece, And then combine that with a rotated die error where the obverse and reverse don't line up correctly, twisting the entire design into a bizarre alignment impossible in normal minting conditions, amplifying its uniqueness further. And imagine even more layers of rarity if this coin was struck using prototype dies that were never meant for circulation, dies that carried subtle design differences intended for testing or revision. And if such design anomalies were discovered only decades later, collectors would scramble to obtain such a historical oddity, because testing dies and experimental issues are almost always destroyed immediately, making survivors among the rarest items ever produced by a mint. And now consider the unimaginable possibility that this extraordinary coin survived in perfect condition, untouched, uncirculated, preserved like a time capsule, with full, glowing luster, flawless surfaces, and microscopic details perfectly intact. Because when a coin that carries multiple extreme errors also exists in the highest possible grade, its rarity multiplies exponentially, driving its theoretical value into astronomical territory. And if this coin was found in a forgotten hoard, a sealed bag, or a private collection where it remained hidden for decades, the story of its discovery would only amplify its allure, because a coin's narrative, the mystery of how it survived, the suspense of how it resurfaced, and the excitement of its reveal contribute massively to its desirability in the numismatic world. And if this coin had a connection to a mint worker who accidentally preserved it, or it was part of a mislabeled test bag, or even found by a young collector who never realized its true significance until experts studied it years later, the legend surrounding it would elevate it further, and suddenly you no longer have just a penny, but a priceless artifact with a story that captivates collectors, historians, and investors alike. Because value in numismatics is not just about rarity, but about uniqueness, intrigue, historical importance, and emotional impact, and all of these factors converging into a single 1972 cent could create the perfect storm that pushes its value to an unbelievable $82 million. A number that reflects not only its hypothetical uniqueness, but the fierce global competition that would erupt if such a coin ever surfaced in the market, because elite collectors, institutions, and wealthy investors often battle at high-stakes auctions for coins far less extraordinary. In the presence of a coin carrying multiple impossible errors, unmatched condition, experimental origins, and a legendary story would create a level of bidding that defies logic, pushing the price to heights that seem almost impossible, yet perfectly reasonable within the context of such an unprecedented numismatic miracle. And as we reflect on these possibilities, imagine the thrill of inspecting every detail on your own coins, wondering if maybe, just maybe, you could be one of the few people lucky enough to discover a hidden treasure the world has overlooked for decades. Because every coin has a story, every minting year carries secrets. And sometimes the rarest treasures are found not in museums, but in the pockets of ordinary people who simply looked a little closer. And as we continue hunting for these incredible mysteries, together on the Numis Hunter, always remember that the next astonishing discovery could be waiting right in the palm of your hand. Next, 2018 D1 cent coin. A coin so common that millions of people handle it daily without giving a second thought. Yet hidden among those billions of modern copper-plated zinc cents could exist an extraordinary specimen, a coin shaped by bizarre minting errors, mechanical failures, human oversight, and unpredictable circumstances so unique that its theoretical value skyrockets to an unbelievable $3.7 million. And as we explore the possibilities together, imagine the thrill of discovering such a coin in loose change in a jar sitting on your shelf, or buried inside a forgotten roll from the bank. Because the story of how a modern penny, minted in a time of high precision and computerized quality control, could become that valuable is one of the most captivating tales in the numismatic world, and it all begins with understanding that even in the modern era, when machines do nearly everything, the U.S. Mint is not immune to freak accidents, misfeeds, die errors, planchette problems, and mechanical malfunctions that can slip through the cracks. And when they do, they create rare treasures that collectors would fight fiercely to obtain. Now, imagine the 2018 descent struck during a high-speed, high-volume production cycle at the Denver Mint, a facility responsible for billions of coins annually. And during one of those rapid-fire presses, something extraordinary could have happened deep inside the minting chamber. Something so rare that no one noticed as it escaped into circulation unnoticed. Perhaps a planchette mix-up where a wrong metal blank slipped into the production line, either from a leftover foreign contract coin or a test piece accidentally included among normal blanks. And if a 2018 D penny was struck on a steel blank, a leftover bronze blank, a dime-sized planchette, or even a fragment of an experimental alloy used in tests, the resulting off-metal strike would instantly become a one-of-a-kind piece worth a staggering amount. Because modern off-metal errors are exceptionally rare, especially after the Mint tightened its quality controls. But let's push further into even more dramatic possibilities, such as a double denomination strike, where the penny was struck over another already minted coin, like a dime or nickel that mistakenly remained in the press, producing overlapping designs where Lincoln's portrait merges strangely with an already struck Roosevelt or Jefferson profile, creating visible ghost images that make collectors lose their minds with excitement, because double denomination errors are among the rarest in the world, and modern versions almost never escape the mint intact. And imagine this same 2018 D penny also carrying a severe die clash, created when the dies strike each other without a planchette between them, leaving behind deep impressions of Lincoln's profile or the memorial shield ghosted into the opposite side of the coin, forming strange, eerie patterns that look almost like hidden artwork. And when such clash dies strike new coins, every detail becomes a bizarre, captivating mistake that collectors crave. And imagine the die clash occurring with incredible intensity, leaving behind bold details such as Lincoln's chin on the reverse or shield lines appearing faintly across Lincoln's coat, anomalies that should never appear but occasionally result from high-pressure mechanical failures. Then picture this coin possessing a strikingly dramatic double die, something unusual for the modern era, where double dies are far less common due to digital hubbing techniques, but still possible when a die receives multiple misaligned impressions during its creation, resulting in thick, separated doubling on the date, the letters of liberty, or the motto. Doubling so bold and unmistakable that even without magnification it jumps out at you. And because modern double dies are some of the most desirable errors, a strong 2018 D double die paired with another extreme minting mistake would cause its value to explode. And now consider the possibility of an off-center strike, but not just any off-center. One that is so dramatic, so clean, and so perfectly misaligned that half of the design is shifted into the void while the other half remains sharply detailed, creating the kind of visually stunning error that collectors consider artistic masterpieces of the minting world. And if this off-center strike still shows the full 2018 date and the demint mark, rarity increases exponentially because full date off-center errors are prized far above others. Now imagine this coin was also broad-struck, meaning it was struck without the collar, resulting in a coin that expanded outward with wide, smooth, stretched rims, giving it an alien, almost melted appearance. And if the broad strike occurred along with an off-center misalignment or a partial collar strike, the combination would create a multi-era masterpiece unlike anything else from the modern era. And we cannot ignore the possibility of a strike-through error, where a foreign object, such as a piece of wire, cloth, metal shavings, grease, or a loose fragment of machinery became lodged between the die and planchet, leaving behind strange impressions, dents, or missing details that create a dramatic and highly collectible anomaly. And if the struck-through material remained embedded in the coin, such as a fragment of steel or brass, it would instantly multiply its value because embedded. Strike-throughs are among the rarest of all mint errors. And now imagine even further complexity. A rotated die error, where the reverse is twisted dramatically out of alignment with the obverse, turning the entire coin into a mismatched puzzle of angles, a type of error extremely rare in modern coins and highly sought after by advanced collectors. And if this rotated die error is extreme enough, say 90 degrees or even 180 degrees, it becomes a numismatic dream piece. And consider the possibility that this coin also carries a major die break or cud, a raised blob of metal on the rim caused by a chunk of the die breaking off during striking, creating a massive, dramatic flaw that visually separates the coin from anything else made that year, as modern cuds are rare due to early die replacement procedures. But the most electrifying possibility, the one that could send collectors into a frenzy and push the value toward that incredible $3.7 million mark, is if this 2018 D penny was struck using a defective, experimental, or mispaired die. Perhaps a mule error where the obverse of a cent was accidentally paired with the reverse of another denomination, creating a combination that should never exist. And mule errors are among the most valuable mint errors in the world because they almost never escape into circulation without being caught. And if all of these unbelievable circumstances converged into a single coin, and that coin somehow survived in stunning, flawless, gem-level condition, possibly even a perfect grade, preserved with full luster and flawless surfaces, its rarity would multiply beyond anything imaginable for a modern penny. Because condition is everything when it comes to establishing elite-level value. And when you combine impossible errors, extraordinary preservation, accidental survival, and the legendary backstory of a modern mint miracle, you create the exact formula needed for a theoretical value of $3.7 million. And imagine the story behind its discovery, perhaps found years later in a sealed mint bag or tucked away unknowingly in a small coin jar, or discovered by a young collector who had no idea they were holding a multi-million-dollar treasure, and that story alone would elevate its mystique to near mythical status in the world of numismatics. And as we uncover these possibilities together, this journey reminds us that even the most ordinary coins can hide extraordinary secrets, and every coin you touch has the potential to be something the world has never seen before, something that could change your life in an instant. And that is the thrill of the hunt, the reason collectors never stop searching, and the magic that keeps us exploring right here on the Numis Hunter. Next, 1995 1-cent coin, a penny that millions of people have handled without ever realizing that somewhere within those billions of pieces might exist a single, extraordinary specimen, so rare, so bizarre, and so loaded with minting anomalies that its theoretical value could soar to an astonishing $14 million. And as we explore this incredible possibility together, imagine the shock of holding such a coin in your hand, a coin born from a chaotic storm of minting mistakes, mechanical failures, die misalignments, planchet errors, and unforeseen accidents inside the U.S. Mint. A coin that carries with it the mysterious fingerprints of flaws so exceptional that even veteran experts would be stunned into silence. Because the year 1995 is already iconic in numismatics due to the famous double die obverse variety, one of the most dramatic and recognizable double dies of the modern era, with bold doubling visible in the word liberty and the motto, a variety so beloved by collectors that even regular examples can sell for impressive sums. But now imagine pushing that well-known doubling into an even more extreme scenario, where the doubling becomes monstrous, overwhelming, unmistakable to the naked eye, created by a catastrophic hubbing misalignment that occurred during the creation of the die, the kind of doubling so thick and separated that it looks like a shadowed second world layered on top of the first. The kind of doubling that would immediately send shockwaves through the coin collecting community. And now imagine this extraordinary doubling being paired with another absolutely wild error, such as a dramatic misaligned eye strike, where the obverse or reverse is shifted so far out of position that Lincoln's portrait is pulled toward the edge of the coin, where the entire design appears to be drifting, creating an eerie, distorted image that stands out instantly. And when such extreme misalignments occur on top of a double die, the resulting coin becomes a layered masterpiece of minting chaos that collectors would consider priceless. But we're only beginning to explore what could make a 1995 penny reach that unbelievable $14 million figure. Because imagine instead that the coin was struck on the wrong planchet entirely, perhaps a leftover bronze planchet from pre-1982 production, or an off-metal strike created when a dime or foreign coin blank slipped into the press, leading to a coin that weighs differently, shines differently, or sounds different when dropped. And off-metal errors are some of the rarest and most sought after mistakes in all of numismatics, making even modern examples immensely valuable. And if such an error occurred on a 1995 die, featuring the famous doubling or an even more extreme version of it, the numismatic world would erupt with excitement. Now imagine if the coin was actually a double denomination error, meaning the planchet had already been struck as a dime, a nickel, or a foreign coin before being incorrectly fed into the penny press, leading to overlapping designs where the faint outline of Roosevelt or Jefferson blends mysteriously with Lincoln's profile, creating a haunting hybrid image, a one-of-one miracle of minting disaster that would instantly elevate the coin to legendary status because double denomination errors from the 1990s are nearly impossible to find. And consider the possibility of a mule error, the rarest of rare mistakes, where the obverse of the 1995 cent was paired with the reverse of a different denomination, such as a dime or nickel, creating a coin that should never exist under any circumstances, because the U.S. Mint tightly controls die pairing and destroys mismatched dies immediately, making surviving mule coins some of the most valuable and mythic pieces ever discovered. And if such a mule existed for 1995 paired with an extreme double die obverse or a bizarre misalignment, its value would soar into multi-million-dollar territory without hesitation. But there are even more possibilities that could push this coin's value into that extraordinary $14 million range, such as a severe die clash error where the obverse and reverse dies slammed into each other without a planchet between them, leaving behind ghost-like impressions of Lincoln's portrait or the memorial outline deeply etched into the opposite die. And when those ghost images reappear on the struck coins, the visual effect can be haunting, making each clash die coin totally unique, depending on the impact's intensity and angle. And if a clash die 1995 cent also feature extreme doubling, off-metal composition, or major misalignment, it would become a multi-layered error masterpiece beyond anything typically seen in circulation. And now imagine that during the striking process, a piece of machinery, a thread, a fragment of wire, grease, or even a piece of another coin became trapped between the die and the planchet, creating a stunning strike-through error where parts of the design are missing, blurred, or deeply indented. And if the foreign object got stuck to the coin itself, creating an embedded strike-through error, the rarity would multiply even more dramatically, because objects embedded in coins are among the most coveted ultra-rare errors in existence. And think about the possibility of a major die break or cud forming during the production of this coin, a massive chunk of broken die, leaving a raised blob of metal or a missing section of design, something so dramatic that it becomes instantly recognizable. Because huge cuds on Lincoln cents are already collectible, but a cud combined with a double die, off-metal strike, or rotated die would create an error of historic proportions. And imagine that this coin also experienced a severe rotated die error where the obverse and reverse are twisted far out of alignment, creating a strange, dizzying effect when you flip the coin, with the rotation reaching 90, 120, or even 180 degrees, making the coin look like it was assembled incorrectly, a type of error extremely rare for 1990s coins. And now consider that perhaps this 1995 penny came from an experimental die used for testing or modification before mass production, carrying subtle design differences or unusual details that were never intended for the public. And if this prototype or experimental die error somehow escaped the mint and entered circulation, it would instantly become one of the most historically significant modern coins ever found. But none of these factors alone would drive the value into the multi-million-dollar range unless the coin also survived in nearly perfect condition, with sharp details, glowing luster, and pristine surfaces. Because when an error coin remains untouched for decades and earns a superb grade from professional coin graders, its value increases exponentially. And if the coin in question is already a multi-era masterpiece with features never before documented, the price could climb into unimaginable territory as collectors and investors fight to own a piece of numismatic history that may never be duplicated. And imagine the discovery story behind such a coin, perhaps found in a forgotten roll, a sealed mint bag, or hidden away unknowingly in someone's drawer for decades, creating the kind of narrative that collectors cherish. Because the mystery of how a coin survived, how it escaped the mint, and how it finally resurfaced contributes to its legend and increases its desirability. And when all of these possibilities collide, a monstrous double die, an off-metal planchet, a double denomination strike, a mule pairing, dramatic die clashes, severe die breaks, rotated dies, strike-through anomalies, prototype dies, and flawless condition. The result is a breathtaking, once-in-a-lifetime, museum-worthy masterpiece of minting chaos. A coin so extraordinary that it could theoretically reach the astonishing value of $14 million, because rarity, uniqueness, complexity, and story are the forces that drive value in the numismatic world. And a 1995 1 cent containing multiple extreme errors is the kind of treasure that would become an instant legend, a coin that collectors would whisper about for generations. And as always, remember that the next great discovery might be sitting unnoticed right in your pocket change. So keep searching, keep exploring, and keep the thrill of the hunt alive right here on the Numis Hunter. Next, 1991 1 cent. A coin almost everyone has seen, touched, or ignored in daily life, is believed by collectors to have the potential to reach an astronomical value of $9 million because of the hidden errors, minting mistakes, rare conditions, and extremely unlikely circumstances surrounding its creation and survival, transforming a simple penny into a treasure that shakes the entire numismatic community and keeps enthusiasts around the world constantly checking their change, searching through old jars, and inspecting inherited collections with renewed hope, because this tiny coin carries with it a combination of factors so rare and so unexpected that even veteran experts say such possibilities almost never align, making the 1991 1 cent one of the most compelling modern-era mysteries in American coinage as we dive into the reasons, the hypothetical scenarios, the extreme minting anomalies, the layering of manufacturing flaws, and the extraordinary chain of events that could make a coin of such small face value command a fortune beyond imagination. And as we begin, imagine the audience leaning closer, caught in the suspense of the idea that a coin they might have seen many times before could hide errors invisible to the untrained, yet capable of elevating it to multi-million-dollar status. And it all starts with the fact that the early 1990s were a transitional time, in minting, with machinery being updated, dies being replaced more frequently, and variations in metal quality occasionally slipping through the system, creating opportunities for rare errors that, if preserved in pristine condition, could turn an ordinary cent into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And one of the most jaw-dropping possibilities involves an off-metal strike where 1991 1 cent might have been accidentally struck on a foreign planchet or on a leftover blank from a different denomination, a mistake that would cause unusual weight, unexpected color, or different metallic resonance, all of which, if perfectly struck and accidentally released into circulation, could make collectors go wild because such an error is nearly impossible to reproduce and extremely limited in number. And equally fascinating is the chance of a mule error where the obverse of the 1991 cent was accidentally paired with the wrong reverse die. Something so rare that any confirmed example instantly becomes a legendary coin. And with a massive production volume in 1991, even one such slip, if undetected, could create a unique specimen worth millions, since collectors will pay astronomical prices for coins that exist in a quantity of one. And then comes the possibility of a dramatic double strike, where the coin was struck once, shifted unexpectedly, and struck again at a different angle, leaving overlapping images of Lincoln's profile or distorted lettering. Effects that instantly make a coin unforgettable and incredibly valuable, especially if the strike is bold, clean, and visually striking. And there's also the question of die deterioration or a shattered die being used at the mint, creating coins with expanding cracks, die chips, or dramatic cuts that form raised areas on the coin surface. Features that, while common in small forms, are extremely valuable when they appear in large, dramatic, unmistakable shapes, particularly if they affect important design elements. And then imagine the scenario where a 1991 cent escaped the mint with a full brockage, meaning one coin was stuck to another during striking, leaving one face deeply mirrored or inverted, creating a ghost-like impression that collectors consider incredibly rare. And if a brockage cent for 1991 survives in high grade, that alone could push it into multi-million-dollar territory, because perfect dramatic errors like that are adored in the hobby. And the story grows even more intense when we consider transitional metal errors, as 1991 was long past the era of copper cents. Yet there remains the slim chance that a leftover copper planchet could have been struck, creating a coin heavier than normal, with a warm reddish tone rather than the typical zinc-based plating, and any such stray planchet error, especially if accompanied by other mistakes like off-centering or striking rotation, could elevate the coin into legendary status. And collectors know that the rarest coins gain their value not only from a single error, but sometimes from a combination of overlapping mistakes. The kind of perfect storm that makes a coin practically priceless because the odds of those events occurring together are so microscopic that their existence seems almost impossible. And if a 1991 cent ever appeared with multiple dramatic errors, preserved by sheer luck in near mint or uncirculated condition, protected in a forgotten drawer, or inside an old roll of pennies untouched for decades, it would instantly become headline news in the numismatic world, driving intense bidding wars between private collectors and museums eager to own a piece of minting history unlike any other. And we must also consider the role of grading, as a flawless or near-flawless error coin skyrockets in value, because error coins that survive in high grade are extremely rare, since most flawed coins get damaged quickly in circulation. So if a 1991 error cent emerges in superb condition, free from major scratches or wear, then suddenly the $9 million price tag doesn't seem so far-fetched, as collectors value rarity multiplied by perfection. And when you add fascinating backstories, such as a coin struck during a moment of die misalignment or at the exact instant a press malfunctioned, the mystique grows even stronger as collectors crave coins with dramatic, traceable minting events tied to known machine failures or production anomalies. And all these possibilities create an electrifying mix of speculation, excitement, and treasure hunt energy that drives people to inspect every detail of their coins, checking the weight, the rim, the alignment, the color, the texture, looking for doubled letters, inspecting Lincoln's ear for doubling, searching the date for distortions or die cracks, checking the reverse for plating bubbles or zinc rot, knowing that a single overlooked detail might be the key to discovering a coin worth more than luxury cars, beachfront properties, or a lifetime of savings. And what makes this story even more thrilling is the idea that the most valuable coins often start out unnoticed, slipping through pockets, drawers, and bank bags until finally someone with a keen eye notices something strange, something slightly off, a small yet powerful clue that transforms a forgotten cent into a life-changing discovery. And as we highlight these possibilities, collectors are reminded that the world of coins is full of surprises where even modern coins from the early 1990s hold secrets, mysteries, and unimaginable potential. And with millions of 1991 cents produced, the chance of a hidden treasure quietly waiting somewhere becomes the spark that fuels this ongoing search, making the $9 million valuation not just a number, but a symbol of hope, excitement, and the thrill of discovering something extraordinary in the most ordinary places. And as we conclude this journey into the astonishing world of the 1991 1 cent, we invite every viewer to look closer, inspect their change, explore forgotten jars, open dusty boxes, and search with curiosity, because the next legendary coin might be sitting silently in the palm of your hand, waiting for the right moment to reveal its secret. Next, 1985 1 cent coin, a coin most people have held, spent, or overlooked thousands of times, could under extremely rare and extraordinary minting conditions reach a staggering value of $19 million because of the hidden errors, dramatic mistakes, and nearly impossible mint anomalies that can turn a simple piece of copper-plated zinc into a treasure that collectors dream about. And as we begin this journey together, imagine the suspense of realizing that something so small and so common might hide a rare flaw invisible to the casual observer, yet worth more than homes, cars, and entire savings accounts combined. And that thrill, that sense of discovery, is what drives collectors, treasure hunters, and enthusiasts to inspect every penny from every jar, drawer, and coin roll they can find. Because the 1985 1 cent holds a place in numismatic conversations as one of the prime candidates for extreme errors, since it was minted during a period of material transitions, fatigue, plating inconsistencies, and machinery issues that created the perfect environment for rare mistakes to occur. And even though millions of 1985 cents were produced, the vast majority are ordinary, but a very tiny number might contain errors so dramatic, so visually striking, or so technically unusual that their value skyrockets into multi-million-dollar territory. Starting with one of the most sought-after possibilities, the off-metal strike, where 1985 cent might have been accidentally struck on a foreign planchet or leftover blank from another denomination, resulting in unusual weight, unexpected color, or a distinct metallic sound that instantly sets it apart from normal 1985 issues. And if such a coin survives in pristine condition, especially a 1 in a million off-metal combination, collectors would be willing to pay astronomical amounts because such pieces become once-in-a-lifetime finds. And then there is the legendary mule error, one of the rarest mistakes in the entire minting process, where a coin is struck using mismatched dies, such as pairing a 1985 Lincoln cent obverse with a reverse intended for another denomination or year. And while no confirmed mule has yet surfaced from 1985, the slightest possibility keeps collectors on high alert, because even a single verified mule coin instantly becomes one of the rarest items in American coinage. easily pushing its value into the range of $19 million or more due to its absolute uniqueness. And the story becomes even more thrilling when we consider dramatic double strikes where the coin is struck once, shifts unexpectedly, and receives a second strike at a different angle or position, leaving overlapping images, distorted dates, doubled lettering, or ghost-like profiles of Lincoln that transform the coin into a breathtaking error that collectors love, especially when the strike is clean, bold, and unmistakable. And equally fascinating are brockage errors created when one coin sticks to another during the striking process, producing a mirrored or deeply indented impression on one side that looks completely different from a normal coin. And if a brockage 1985 cent surfaces in high grade, its dramatic and unmistakable appearance can push its value into the millions. Because complete brockages are extremely rare, particularly when perfectly preserved. And then we move into the realm of die cracks, shattered die anomalies, dramatic die, cuds, and extreme die. Deterioration where the dies used to strike the coins begin to break or wear down, creating raised, thick, dramatic cracks running across Lincoln's face, the date, the motto, or the memorial building. And while minor die cracks are relatively common, the enormous, dramatic, full-rim cuds and die breaks that collectors pay huge amounts for are extremely rare. And when one appears in nearly perfect condition on a 1985 cent, it becomes a treasure because collectors love large, bold, eye-catching errors with clear visual impact. And then we consider plating anomalies, as 1985 cents use copper-plated zinc planchets that occasionally developed plating bubbles, missing plating patches, or uneven coating that exposes the zinc core beneath. And although minor plating issues are common, massive, dramatic missing plating errors covering large sections of the coin are rare and highly desirable when found in high grade, especially when the exposed zinc creates a two-tone appearance that makes the error unmistakable and visually stunning. And now imagine even more extraordinary possibilities, such as an uncentered broad strike where the collar failed and the coin expanded outward, losing its normal rim shape and creating a stretched, oversized appearance that collectors adore, or a powerful off-center strike where part of the design is missing and the date remains fully visible. A combination that dramatically increases value because off-center errors with visible dates are far more valuable than those without. And now imagine combining multiple errors into one coin, such as an off-center strike on an off-metal planchet with a dramatic die crack, or a double strike on a foreign blank. Situations so unlikely that they defy probability and instantly turn the coin into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece because collectors value rarity layered with rarity, creating an irresistible allure that drives bidding wars and skyrockets the price into unimaginable levels. And another factor that influences the value of a 1985 cent with dramatic errors is the grade, because any error coin that survives in mint state condition, free from scratches, dents, corrosion, or circulation damage, becomes exponentially more valuable. And if a major error 1985 cent were discovered in a grade such as MS 66 or MS 67 or even higher, with flawless surfaces and sharp details, that alone could justify an enormous price, especially when combined with an error that is visually impressive and unique. And as we explore the possibilities further, imagine a scenario where a transitional planchet error occurs, where a leftover copper blank from years prior was accidentally used in 1985, creating a heavier, differently colored, unusually composed scent that would stand out immediately to experts. And such transitional errors are among the most valuable coins ever found, with some reaching millions. And if a 1985 transitional strike exists, especially with additional mistakes like misalignment or doubling, it would instantly become legendary. And then consider the role of misalignment errors where the obverse and reverse are struck at different rotations or degrees, creating a coin with twisted alignment that collectors find mesmerizing because it gives a sense of motion frozen in metal. And the more dramatic the rotation, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially when paired with other striking anomalies. And all these scenarios together paint a thrilling picture of why a 1985 1 cent could theoretically reach a valuation of $19 million. Not because it is inherently rare in its normal form, but because the extraordinary combination of minting errors, the extremely low survival rate of dramatic mistakes, and the obsession of collectors who crave unique, unrepeatable coins creates the perfect environment for astronomical prices. And every collector knows that the greatest treasures often start out hidden in ordinary places, a forgotten drawer, a piggy bank, a dusty tin box, or a jar of pennies passed down through generations. And somewhere out there, maybe in a home, a shop, a small forgotten corner of a safe, could be a coin that the mint never intended to release, a coin with dramatic flaws that slipped through unnoticed, waiting patiently for someone with the right eye to discover its secret. And that possibility fuels the excitement, the adrenaline, and the treasure hunt spirit that keeps the world of coin collecting alive. And as we wrap up this journey into the astonishing potential of the 1985 1 cent, remember that every coin has a story, every coin holds a mystery, and every coin might be more than it seems. So always take a closer look, examine the details, check the weight, study the surface, and never underestimate the power of a single penny, because the next $19 million discovery could be sitting right in your pocket at this very moment. Next, 2000D 1 cent coin. An everyday penny most people wouldn't look at twice, could under extraordinary, rare, and highly unusual minting circumstances reach a staggering value of $1.53 million because of extreme errors, dramatic minting mistakes, and near impossible anomalies that transform an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin into a numismatic treasure. And as we begin this journey together, imagine the excitement of realizing that something as tiny and commonly overlooked as a penny could hide a flaw so rare and so visually striking that collectors around the world would be willing to pay the kind of price normally associated with luxury homes, exotic cars, or high-end investments. And this sense of mystery and discovery draws millions of people into coin collecting, pushing them to inspect every detail, every edge, every letter, and every surface of the coins they encounter, because the 2000D cent, minted in Denver, comes from a period known for mass production, high-pressure minting conditions, die, wear, and planchet inconsistencies that created the perfect storm for unique errors to slip through unnoticed. And although billions of 2000D cents were made, the extraordinary value comes not from the ordinary examples, but from the ultra-rare mistakes that happen only when the minting machinery malfunctions in ways that are nearly impossible to repeat, producing one-of-a-kind pieces that immediately capture the attention of expert collectors. And one of the most valuable possibilities is an off-metal strike, where a 2000D cent might have been accidentally struck on a foreign planchet, a leftover blank from another denomination, or even a transitional composition from years prior, resulting in unusual weight, unexpected coloration, or a distinct metallic tone when tapped. And because off-metal errors are among the rarest types of mistakes the mint can produce, a perfectly preserved example from 2000 could easily command 6 or 7 figures, especially if combined with a sharp strike and a clear date. And another thrilling possibility is the mule error, where the obverse die of a 2000D cent is paired with the reverse die of a different coin, creating a mismatch that collectors consider holy grails because they represent catastrophic and extremely rare mechanical oversight. And while only a handful of mule coins from other years are known, the remote chance that even one exists from 2000 keeps collectors searching passionately. And a verified mule from this year would immediately skyrocket to million-dollar status because such coins are absolute rarities in the entire history of American coinage. And moving deeper into the world of extreme mistakes, we consider double strikes and multiple strike errors, where the coin receives more than one hit from the dies due to mechanical timing failures, causing overlapping images, distorted lettering, double dates, or ghost-like impressions of Lincoln that appear, as if the coin is moving. And if these secondary strikes are off-center or rotated dramatically, the error becomes even more spectacular and far more valuable, especially when preserved in mint state condition with bright surfaces and full details. And another dramatic and highly sought-after mistake is the brockage error, which occurs when one coin sticks to the die and transfers a mirrored impression onto the next coin struck, producing a visually stunning and unmistakable design that looks unlike anything produced intentionally by the mint. And complete brockage are extremely rare, especially for modern pennies. So a full brockage 2000 cent in pristine condition could unquestionably reach seven-figure value due to its visual impact and its rarity. And then there are broad strikes and off-center strikes, caused by collar malfunctions or misalignments in the striking chamber, where the rim becomes stretched, the design appears shifted dramatically, or large portions of the coin are missing while still showing a complete date. And collectors especially prize off-center errors that retain the full date because it verifies authenticity and links the mistake to a specific year, dramatically boosting value. And when the off-center percentage is extreme, such as 50% or more, the rarity and desirability increase exponentially, making such coins worth thousands or even millions when paired with gem-level preservation. And we cannot ignore the powerful impact of die cracks, die cuds, shattered die anomalies, and major mechanical wear on the striking equipment, which in the year 2000 could produce raised metal lines, thick ridges, dramatic breaks across Lincoln's profile, or large rim-to-rim lumps where pieces of the die literally broke off during the striking process. And while small die cracks are fairly common, the massive, visually impressive, and dramatic cuds that collectors crave are extremely scarce. And when a 2000 cent features a giant cud, combined with high grade, strong luster, and no signs of circulation damage, its value can skyrocket, especially when the break dramatically affects major design elements, making the error unforgettable. And since 2000 cents were produced using copper-plated zinc planchets, plating errors also play a major role in rarity, with missing plating mistakes, exposed zinc patches, severe plating bubbles, or texture distortions creating visually dramatic surfaces that collectors seek. And if the missing plating covers large areas or creates a two-tone appearance while the coin remains in nearly flawless condition, the error becomes extremely valuable because the mint intended all modern cents to have uniform copper tones, making such dramatic variations rare and desirable. And the excitement continues when we consider rotational die errors where the reverse and obverse don't align properly, causing the designs to rotate at strange angles, giving the coin a twisted appearance that collectors find mesmerizing. And the more extreme the rotation, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially when the error is paired with sharp details and minimal wear. And then there are transitional planchet errors, rare but possible, where leftover metal compositions from earlier years or foreign coin blanks accidentally enter the production line, creating coins with abnormal weights, unusual magnetic responses, or distinct surface colors. And these transitional mistakes can easily push the value into the million-dollar territory because they represent unique minting events that were never meant to occur. And imagine the incredible scenario where multiple errors combine on a single coin, such as an off-center strike on an off-metal planchet paired with dramatic doubling or a die cud, creating a once-in-a-lifetime multi-error piece that collectors would fight over due to its absolute uniqueness. And multi-error coins are especially fascinating because they often come from Moments of extreme mechanical failure or rapid production shifts when the mint's machinery was under unusual stress, and such coins embody the chaotic side of minting history, making them historically significant and visually beautiful in the world of errors. And now consider the importance of grade, because a dramatic error on a coin with scratches, dents, environmental damage, or heavy will never reach its full potential value. But a gem-level error, especially in MS 66, MS 67 or above, multiplies in price instantly because high-grade error coins are incredibly rare. And if a dramatic 2000D error survived in near-perfect condition straight from a sealed mint bag or an untouched coin roll, collectors would be willing to pay astronomical prices because high grades amplify every feature, every detail, and every visual impact of the error. And as we explore all these possibilities, it becomes crystal clear why a 2000D cent could reach a valuation as high as $1.53 million, not because every 2000D penny is rare, but because when the perfect combination of minting chaos, mechanical failure, unique metal conditions, and flawless preservation align, the result is a masterpiece of numismatic rarity, a coin that becomes legendary not just for its value, but for the story it tells about how something went so dramatically wrong inside the mint for one glorious moment. Next, 1994 D 1-cent coin. A penny most people have spent without a second thought, could under extremely rare and extraordinary minting circumstances reach a staggering value of $25 million because of dramatic errors, shocking mistakes, and once-in-a-lifetime anomalies that transform an ordinary coin into a priceless treasure. And as we begin this journey together, imagine holding in your hand a tiny copper-plated zinc coin that hides a story so remarkable and a flaw so rare that collectors around the world would be willing to pay amounts associated with luxury estates, high-end investments, or rare art pieces. Because the magic of coin collecting lies in the unknown, that thrilling chance that a coin overlooked for decades might contain a minting error so dramatic, so visually striking, and so technically impossible to replicate that it instantly becomes one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. And the 1994 D cent holds a special place in this conversation because it comes from a decade known for high production levels, aggressive minting speeds, die deterioration, plating inconsistencies, and occasional mechanical issues that created the perfect environment for rare production mistakes to slip through the system. And while billions of 1994 D cents were produced, the real value lies not in the ordinary examples, but in the near-mythical errors that occur only once every few million or even every few billion strikes. Errors so rare that their combination with pristine condition transforms the coin into a legendary and numismatic masterpiece capable of reaching $25 million. And among the most extraordinary possibilities is the off-metal strike, where 1994 D cent might have been struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin, leading to unusual weight, unexpected color, rare alloy composition, or a distinctive metallic ring that sets it apart from all other cents. And because off-metal errors from the Denver Mint are incredibly scarce, a perfectly preserved example could easily reach multi-million-dollar status, especially if the error is dramatic, unmistakable, and fully verifiable. And even more astonishing would be the discovery of a mule error where the 1994 D obverse is paired with a reverse die from a completely different denomination or design. An event so unlikely that only a handful of mules have ever been confirmed in U.S. history, and the appearance of a mule from 1994 would instantly send shockwaves through the coin collecting world because such a coin would be absolutely unique. And uniqueness is what drives prices into the stratosphere, making $25 million a real possibility for a coin like that. And equally fascinating are double strike and multiple strike errors, where the coin receives more than one impression from the dies due to timing failures or mechanical malfunctions, causing overlapping designs, doubled lettering, multiple Lincoln profiles, warped images, or ghost-like appearances that captivate collectors. And if such an error occurred off-center or rotated between strikes, the visual impact increases dramatically, making the coin far more desirable, especially when preserved in mint state with bright luster and sharp detail. And then we have blockage errors, among the most striking and dramatic mistakes the mint produces when a freshly struck coin sticks to the die and impresses a mirrored, incused design into the next. Blank, creating a coin with one normal side and one jaw-dropping distorted, mirrored image, and a full blockage 1994 descent in high grade would easily rise into $1 million territory due to its rarity and its powerful visual appeal. And another category that can push the value upward is broad strikes and off-center strikes caused by collar malfunctions, where the retaining ring fails and the coin expands outward or shifts dramatically during striking, resulting in a stretched rim, widened shape, or massive design shift where part of the coin is missing but the date remains visible. And collectors highly value off-center strikes with full dates because the combination of rarity, identifiable mint year, and dramatic appearance makes them top-tier errors. And the more extreme the off-center percentage, the higher the value rises, especially when the coin survives untouched in pristine condition. And then we step into the world of die deterioration and catastrophic die failures, where cracks, breaks, and shattering on the dies themselves transfer raised lines, thick cuts, massive blobs of metal, or rim-to-rim fractures on a struck coin. And while small die cracks are common, dramatic full-cut errors are extremely rare and extremely valuable, especially when they distort major parts of Lincoln's face or the memorial design on the reverse. And the combination of size, boldness, and rarity makes such errors stand out instantly to experts. And because 1994 descents were made from copper-plated zinc planchets, plating errors also contribute to their potential value, with missing plating mistakes, large exposed zinc patches, peeling copper layers, or severe plating bubbles creating unusual two-tone surfaces or texture distortions that collectors find irresistible, especially when they cover large areas and the coin remains in high grade. And then we have dramatic wrong planchet transitional errors, which occur when leftover blanks from earlier metal compositions or foreign coin production accidentally enter the minting line, resulting in abnormal color, unexpected weight, or different electromagnetic signatures. And transitional errors are some of the highest-selling coins in numismatic history because they represent moments when a mint's internal processes slipped in unpredictable ways, creating coins never intended for circulation. And a 1994 D transitional error in gem condition could easily enter the multi-million-dollar category, and adding even more intrigue are rotational misalignment errors, where the obverse and reverse designs are not aligned properly, causing the reverse to rotate significantly when flipped horizontally. And the more extreme the rotation, the more valuable the coin, because it represents a mechanical failure that persisted through at least one full strike cycle. And then imagine the rarest and most valuable scenario of all, a multi-year 1994 descent, where several mistakes occur together, such as an off-center strike, combined with a dramatic die break struck on a wrong metal planchet with visible doubling. And coins that contain layered errors like this are essentially unique. And uniqueness is the key element that transforms a rare coin into a priceless treasure, making $25 million a realistic possibility for the right combination. And another vital factor influencing value is grade, because even the most dramatic error loses immense value if covered in scratches, dents, or corrosion. But if an extraordinary error survived in a mint sealed bag or a rolled batch untouched for decades and emerged in superb gem condition, such as MS 66, MS 67 or higher, the combination of error, rarity, and flawless preservation would be irresistible to collectors with deep pockets. And as we consider all these possibilities, the idea of a 1994 D, 1 cent, reaching a valuation of $25 million becomes clear, not because the ordinary cent is rare, but because the perfect alignment of extraordinary minting chaos, metal anomalies, mechanical failure, and immaculate preservation creates a one-in-a-billion masterpiece that collectors would fight over due to its absolute uniqueness. And somewhere out there, in a forgotten coin jar, a drawer, a collection inherited from a relative, or a dusty old box, there might be a 1994 D cent that the mint never intended to release, a coin with a flaw so breathtaking that it could rewrite numismatic history. And that possibility, the chance that an unimaginable treasure could be hiding in plain sight, is what keeps collectors searching, inspecting, and dreaming, knowing that at any moment a coin worth $25 million could be waiting for the right pair of eyes to discover its secret. Today we're diving deep into an extraordinary story that continues to shock collectors, beginners and experts alike, because the 1995 1-cent coin, a coin millions of people handled casually in their everyday lives, has been reported in certain rare error forms to reach an unbelievable value of up to $4 million. A number so astonishing that it has turned this humble penny into one of the most talked about coins in modern numismatics. And what makes this coin so fascinating is not just its unlikely rise from a common copper-plated zinc cent to a multi-million-dollar prize, but the combination of errors, anomalies, striking mistakes, die problems, and production quirks that could occur during minting, each one amplifying its rarity and desirability to levels most people could never imagine, especially considering the massive mintages of the mid-1990s when billions of Lincoln cents flowed through the U.S. Mint. Yet hidden among them are a select few coins that slipped past inspection with such dramatic, eye-catching, or subtle, but unique errors that collectors now chase them fiercely, hoping to find that one special piece that could change their lives. And that's where the magic of the 1995 cent truly begins, because when we talk about value, we're not just talking about any ordinary coin. We're talking about a potential masterpiece born from a perfect storm of mistakes, an accident that became a treasure. And at the center of this immense value lies the possibility of dramatic die errors that have captivated collectors for decades. Errors such as double dies, where the design on the coin appears doubled due to misalignment during the hubbing process. And while the 1995 double die cent, especially the famous double die obverse known from the Philadelphia Mint, is already widely celebrated for its extreme visual doubling on the phrase "In God We Trust." The idea of an even rarer version with stronger doubling, misaligned die combinations, or hybrid transfer errors elevates the story to a legendary level, because a coin that displays doubling so dramatic it nearly looks like shadow text carved into metal becomes a visual marvel, a minting phenomenon that could command outrageous prices because it represents a one-in-millions outcome created during a split-second misalignment in the minting setup. And collectors know that such errors do not repeat easily, which magnifies rarity and pushes value into the millions, especially when preserved in pristine condition. But doubling isn't the only possibility behind a $4 million 1995 cent. Another compelling factor is the potential for dramatic off-center strikes that leave huge blank areas on the coin while still showing enough of Lincoln's portrait and the date to remain identifiable, and extreme off-center errors, especially those reaching 70 to 95% off-center with the date still visible, are always incredibly desirable. But when such an error occurs on a coin with other overlapping mistakes, like a broad strike that causes the coin to stretch beyond its normal diameter, or a wrong planchet strike where the cent is accidentally minted on a dime or foreign planchet, the rarity multiplies exponentially, creating a layered error coin so unusual that it becomes priceless to advanced collectors. Because the mint doesn't intentionally produce such marvels. They happen only when several rare mistakes align in the same moment. Almost like lightning striking twice in the same place. And that's exactly the kind of coin that can break price records and achieve multi-million-dollar valuations at high-end auctions. Another fascinating factor that could make a 1995 cent worth $4 million is the presence of mule errors, some of the rarest minting mistakes in the world, where the obverse die of one coin is accidentally paired with the reverse die of another denomination entirely. And while no officially confirmed mule cent from 1995 is known to the general public, the discovery of even one such coin, combining perhaps a cent obverse with a dime or nickel reverse, would instantly shock the numismatic world. Because mule coins often sell for hundreds of thousands or millions due to their extreme rarity and the theoretical existence of a 1995 mule cent, whether struck on the wrong planchet or paired with the wrong reverse design, could absolutely justify a $4 million price tag, especially if it were verified, graded, and authenticated by a major grading agency. Another element that adds massive value is condition rarity. A 1995 cent that somehow survived in a flawless, untouched, sharply struck, high-grade state despite the cheap, reactive, easily damaged zinc core of post-1982 cents would already be exceptional because zinc coins corrode, bubble, and discolor easily. And finding one not only free of damage, but nearly perfect or with full original mint luster and zero spots would be extraordinary. And if that perfect condition coin also happened to contain a major error, then its value would skyrocket because collectors know that error coins rarely survive in top grades, as most are quickly spent, handled, or damaged before discovery, making gem state errors incredibly valuable. We also cannot ignore the possibility of planchet defects that occur before striking, such as clipped planchets where a portion of the metal blank is cut off before minting, saddle strike errors where the coin bends due to simultaneous double striking, or unintentional lamination errors where the metal surface peels due to impurities in the planchet. And while some of these errors are more common, extremely dramatic or multiple combined planchet flaws on a 1995 cent can become exceptionally valuable when they appear boldly and clearly, creating a visually unique coin that becomes a one-of-a-kind collectible. Then there's the allure of mystery itself, because collectors often pay huge premiums for coins that have unusual characteristics that do not fit normal minting records, such as a rotated die alignment, where the reverse is spun 90 or 180 degrees from the obverse, a transition metal error, where a coin is struck in the wrong composition during a year of no official metal changes, or hybrid strike anomalies that defy traditional categorization. And when a coin like that emerges, it becomes an instant spotlight piece, attracting attention from museums, elite collectors, and major auction houses that compete fiercely to own such an impossible error, creating a bidding frenzy that can drive prices to staggering heights like the $4 million hypothetical value attributed to a unique 1995 cent. The beauty of a coin like this lies in the fact that it combines history, rarity, accident, craftsmanship, and mystery all in a single piece of metal, a penny that most people would overlook, but which could hold the power to transform someone's financial life overnight. And that's exactly why collectors remain passionate and vigilant, carefully examining every coin that passes through their hands. Because extraordinary discoveries often hide in the most ordinary places, and 1995 cent with a major, dramatic, never-before-seen error could absolutely exist in someone's jar, drawer, or forgotten stash, waiting for the right person to uncover it and reveal it to the world, igniting the excitement of the entire numismatic community. And that thrilling possibility is what keeps treasure hunters searching tirelessly, driven by the dream that a $4 million miracle coin could still be out there, buried in plain sight among billions of ordinary cents, proving once again that sometimes the rarest treasures are the ones we least expect.